Hello everyone, welcome back to UG English. In today's video, we will discuss the Renaissance and the Puritan ages in the history of English literature. In the previous video, we discussed the background of English literature, that is from Old English to the Middle English ages. But coming to the JLDL syllabus, this Renaissance is a very important topic, and this is from the modern age, 1500th century. So this Renaissance is also called as early modern age, or we can call it as Elizabethan age, or the age of Shakespeare, or else we can call it as a golden age of English literature. So particularly from 1558 to 1625, from the accession of Queen Elizabeth to the James I period. Sometimes this James I period is also known as the Jacobean period from 1603 to 1625. So I request you all to please memorize these dates. It's very important for the examination point of view. Sometimes they will directly ask you to recognize the ages or recognize the periods of English literature. So in that case, if it is specifically mentioned, you can please memorize it as 1603 to 1625 as a Jacobean period, or else it is treated as part of Elizabethan age. Coming to the modern age, this begins from 15th century or 1500. So in this age, the first sub age we can say is Renaissance one. So Renaissance is a golden age of literature. Here Renaissance is nothing but rebirth of knowledge. It started in Italy, as we have discussed in the previous class. So it started in Italy because of the capturing Constantinople in 1453. These Greeks fled to the Italy. So Renaissance began in Italy with the Greek ideas. Those Greek scholars fled with their texts to the other countries like Italy, France and other countries. Basically the Renaissance began in Italy. So because of the Latin influence, because of the Greek influence, so the scholars started working more on Greek or Latin texts. That is nothing but called as a Renaissance here. They imitated the classical forms. They imitated the classical literature. So that's why it is called as Renaissance. The major genre of this age, particularly Renaissance, is drama, and the second best genre is lyric in the sense a song, ode, sonnet, song, pastoral, elegy, epithalamium, even or the different forms of lyric here. So all these can be treated as subgenres of lyric here. And this age saw the first tragedy, that is Gabodak. The subtitle of this is the tragedy of Ferex and Porrex. Sometimes in examinations you may be asked to write the subtitle of Gabodak. It is the tragedy of Ferex and Porrex. So these two are the sons of Gabodak, and the issue has started with the division of the kingdom between these two sons. So this was written by Thomas Norton and Thomas Sackville, and the first comedy in English literature is Rolf Royster and Doyster. It was Nicholas Udall, and this age saw the first theatre in English, that is in London, named the Theatre in 1576, built by James Burbage. The Curtain, the Rose, the Swan, the Globe are the other theatres. In this, the Globe is owned by the Shakespeare. This was built in 1599, and this age I saw the encouragement, or more encouragement is for drama. So that's why there are several dramatists, particularly a group called University Wits. It's a group of 7 highly educated people, Lyly, Peele and Lodge. These 3 are the one who studied in Oxford University. Here Thomas Lodge Rosalind is a character, is a base for the Shakespeare's character Rosalind. And Marlowe, Greene and Nash are 3 from Cambridge University. As you know, Marlowe is the author of Dr. Faustus, a very great tragedy, and Thomas Greene is the one who criticized the Shakespeare as an upstart crow. This is one of the important bit in English literature. He is a critic of Shakespeare. So, and Thomas Nashe is one other one. These three are from Cambridge, and Thomas Kidd is a one who is a important tragedy writer, and he wrote only tragedies here. The Spanish tragedy is one of his best tragedies, and he not studied. He's not did not belongs to any of these universities. He's not studied any university. And as you all know, Shakespeare is the greatest dramatist of this age. He wrote 37 plays, 154 sonnets, out of which 127 were dedicated to a young man, and the other 27 are dark sonnets, known as dark sonnets, and 5 are his long poems. And Marlowe is the one who introduced blank verse into the drama. He is known as the father of blank verse in English drama. And there are two other important persons like Spenser and Sidney. These two are very famous poets, and as you all know, Spenser is a one who wrote Fairy Queen, very important epic poem, long epic poem. Actually, he wanted to write it in 24 books, but it was only he only finished only 6 books. Three in 1590 and other 3 in 1596. The next important writer of this poet of this age is Philip Sidney, and he is a famous critic of this age also. As we all know, our criticism part begins with Philip Sidney to Matthew Arnold. So he is a writer of a defense of poesy. He defended the nobleness of the English, or the poets, we can say the poets, because he defended the poetry, because as earlier authors like Stephen Gosen has commented, poets are the caterpillars of the Commonwealth. But he said that, Philip Sidney said that poetry is very important and the greatest art which is useful to the society or the Commonwealth. Coming to the historical events of this age, the Religious Settlement Act is the one which passed in 1559. It brings the uniformity on church services, and all the services were based on the Book of Prayer of 1552, and they made the church attendance as a mandatory one, and the king also became the supreme governor of the church, unlike the Henry VII's decision of making the king as head of the church. It was modified as a supreme governor of the church, and this age saw the scientific advances in science, navigation, exploration, as we discussed in the previous class. Colonization, industrialization has started from this age because of the rising naval power, and you can see this example here. Spanish Armada was defeated in 1588 by English naval power, and Philip II of the Spanish king was defeated here. So this shows the naval power of the England here, and this is the same time there are some Protestant reformations. They demanded from the church reforms like Martin Luther, John Calvin, and others. So this is the age in which the science and the development as well as the literature also flourished. And the next important age is the Puritan age. The Puritan age is also known as the Commonwealth Interregnum, generally called as the Commonwealth period. The normal period of this Puritan age is Commonwealth period, and this age is from 1625 to 1660, we can call it as. So in this, the Charles I's reign, as we have observed, the James I period is known as 1603 to 1625 is known as Jacobean, and here the Charles I's reign is known as the Caroline age. This is also one of the important bits. And during this age, lot of 3 civil wars was broken. Out of this, the Cavaliers represents the Charles II supporters, Charles I supporters, and Roundheads represents the supporters of the Parliament. And here is a clash between the king and the Parliament, and Charles I dissolved the Parliament and he ruled as monarch without the parliament. So after what happened in 1640, Charles I was imprisoned, and this Puritans ruling was started. This is known as Commonwealth Interregnum. And these Puritans ideas were very pessimistic compared to the romantic ideas of the Elizabethan age. So these Puritans' poetry or writings are all pessimistic, and moreover, these Puritans are against the theaters because they treated as a drama is immoral one. So that's why they closed the theaters in 1642, and Oliver Cromwell is the leader behind these Puritans. And during the 1653 to 59 is very important point also we have to remember. During this age, Oliver Cromwell has become the protector. Protector means the head of the state of this England, and he ruled for another 5 years here. So without the monarchs or the king here. So the important point you have to remember is the Charles I started the argument and he dissolved the parliament, and later these Puritans has disobeyed the king and they started ruling the England. And this has a major impact on the theaters, and the theaters were closed in 1642. And during this age the poets were there are three types of poets. We can I have divided this into three types of poets here. One is Spencerian poets and the Cavalier poets, and the third one is metaphysical poets. Spencerian poets are the one who followed the Spencer. So here two Fletchers, Phineas Fletcher and Giles Fletcher, and Wither, as well as Brownie, William Brown and Drummond. All these five are called as Spencerian poets. And Cavalier poets are four. They are Herrick, Carew, Suckling and Lovelace. So these question may be asked in examination, like to identify the author or the writer who do not belong to a particular group. Like they will give you four names and ask you, maybe they may ask you to identify the name of the Cavalier poet or not a Cavalier poet of that group. So you have to remember the names and works also. We'll discuss this in the next video as well in detail. Like when I do the age separate video for a Puritan age, we will discuss it in detail. And metaphysical poets is a one important one. They are inspired by John Donne. So this is a group of poets. They studied various subjects, like they are doctors, lawyers, and they are well experts in different areas. So they used their scientific knowledge, they used their vocabulary of law, medicine, or whatever the subject they studied into their writings. So that's why this is called as a metaphysical or beyond the physical world. That means odd comparisons were made in their writings. So we will discuss this in a separate video later. In examination, we may have a question like, who is the one who coined the word metaphysical? So John Dryden is the one who coined this word to denote a group of poets. And finally, Milton is known as the greatest poet of the Puritan age. He is the author of Paradise Lost, the epic poem, and we have Paradise Lost. Book 1 is in the syllabus for us for JL and DL examinations. He is also the author of Lycidas, Comus, El Allegro, Two Pence Rosso, and On His Blindness. All these are his famous works we can remember, and these works will be discussed in a separate video and later. And this is for today. So we have discussed two ages, Renaissance and Puritans, and this table is very important and you have to remember this table completely for the examination purpose. So I wish you all the best, and we will meet in the next video. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe the channel, please share it to your friends, and thanks for watching. Thank you.